Hello, Earthlings. Franny Lee Elcrease here, creator of Earth Creator Spiritual World Awakening. Um, Today, I wanted to do a video on mental health and how I perceive it now after going through my spiritual awakening, and how I would hope that other people will start seeing it as that also. I kind of wrote it down so that way I can, because if I just get on a rant, it'll take a long ass video. But if I write down a little bit of what I want to talk about, it kind of helps me stay focused because ADHD. But the main reason why I want to talk about this is because I've been really wanting to become like a therapist to help people, but in reality, like the schooling and teaching I would have to go through isn't what I believe on how we treat people. Because honestly, let's just be real, psychologists, whatever you want to call them, they evaluate you, see what's wrong with you, and then give you drugs. And I just think that's a very wrong way of doing that, because unless the drugs are cannabis, then by all means, great. But they just want us popping pills. So, which I'm still thinking about running for president. I really want to do that. And the biggest thing I'm going to change is the pharmaceuticals, because to me, microdosing on mushrooms and cannabis are the best way to be, because it actually helps you process what you didn't get to process when the trauma happened or abuse happened or whatever. And so I want people to have access to that. To me, pills just basically numb you out, and they don't help you. And then therapists, if you have a therapist and you can't genuinely tell them everything that goes on in your head without judgment, or without them just thinking that you're even more crazy than when we started the therapy session or whatever, you can never heal. So I'm so big about how there's more ways of getting therapy out there, but I'm also worried that it's not going to work, because a therapist has to have a complete open mind, to the extent that they need to believe you no matter what kind of crazy quote unquote shit you're saying, and let you just be a guide to go through it. But whatever they tell you is like, oh, that's your imagination. That was just all up in your head or whatever. Like paranormal. I'm really big about the paranormal. I believe in it. And if you have a therapist who doesn't believe in it and you're trying to tell them about some shit that you went through at when you were a kid living in a haunted place and there was shit going on, your parents don't believe you. I know this personally because my sister would see shit and she would hear stuff, hear voices, see things, and my mom literally just told her to go back to bed. It was a nightmare, and that she just, her imagination is overrunning. But to me, because I was the one who had to actually comfort her, uh, we would a lot of times share a room, so she kind of had to comfort with me. But I was a kid myself. We were only 2 years apart, and I'm the older one. But dude, I was still trying to figure out what I was doing, so it was hard for me to comfort her. So I just comfort her every way I could. Like a lot of times, I would hold her hand while she fell asleep, because to her, me holding her hand helped her in some way. But if you have a therapist who just wants to call you crazy, you're never going to get to heal from the trauma that you went through, whether it was paranormal or just fucking abuse from your parents. Which I think to me, they coexist. Like they go together. Um, but and the reason why I really want to talk about this is because I just watched some haunted house stuff where they do a little series on Hill House. And I don't know if you guys ever watched that series, but the the mental health that they talk about in that is because like one of the brothers, he's a twin brother, he goes down a really bad path of uh, abuse, shooting up stuff and whatnot. And the reason why is because no one wants to believe him that he had a friend who was Abigail, which, oh my god, I cannot believe that. I thought she was a spirit too. And then at the end, it was an actual real person. And sorry for the spoilers. If you haven't watched this, maybe you should just, I don't know, skip a little bit. But the fact that his imaginary friend that they kept saying was imaginary was actually a real kid. And then I'm not going to try to spoil it too much. Then later on, ends up dying in the most horrific fucking way possible, which Oh my god, I love it. I love it when they do that. Those are the stories I like because it really gets your mind thinking. And I guess that's part of my ADHD, as they call it. I don't even believe in ADHD. I think that ADHD kids just have so much going on in their head and they can't express it all the time. And they want to express it, but whenever they do express it, the teacher doesn't understand or whatever. And so they're like, oh, well, whatever. Or also how teachers force kids to constantly, you have to be working on this or you have to be working on this. When in reality, a kid's just going to want to play. And they have to engage in educating kids in a fun way, period, the end. Like, you just, even if it's math or whatever, you have to find ways to make it fun for them because they don't care about math. Who cares about math at fucking in kindergarten, first grade, whatever grade you start learning math in? That's why I want to change the whole education system because I really think that autistic kids, as they call it, or special need kids because they can't learn the way they book want to learn them, like to the book you have to learn this way, when in reality to the book doesn't work for everyone. And so like I feel like teaching should be fluid, it should be diverse, it should, you should teach a kid how they can learn, not how you want them to learn. And that's why I want to change the education system when I become president because it's fucked up. I had autistic, I say these words because we know what they mean and what they've called us that, but in reality, I mean, in history, learning about what I learned in history at school, even though in reality I couldn't tell that what they were teaching us was lies, my body, my energy, my soul knew they were teaching us lies. So, like, history class, I don't even care that I did horrible in it because they were teaching us lies. Math, a lot of that math I'll never use in my life. By all means, if you're going to go into a program or a job that does incorporate that type of math and that's what you're into, fine. But people who are not into that shouldn't be forced to learn it just because it's what's on the curriculum or whatever. I think we should make education very fluid for the student individuality and diversity because they want to learn how they want to learn. And I guarantee you most kids are going to learn way easier because another reason why I know that is because if you looked at my grades through even in college and in high school, in grade school, of course I don't even know what grades they were, but like those grades don't say shit about who I am. I'm not a dumb person, but if you looked at my GPA and you looked at my grades throughout college, you would probably think I was a dumb person, but in reality, I just can't stand taking tests and I hate tests and I want to get rid of them because I want to get rid of them in the sense that they're not grades and they don't hurt you. Like, that's like a punishment. They're like, oh, you dumbass, you didn't learn what you're supposed to learn, so here's your F for your grade. To me, tests and quizzes can be still used, but in a sense to just figure out, okay, this is what you didn't understand, this is what you did understand, let's work on this, but these things clearly you've got it, And then you can move on from that. So I think they're kind of cool, but whenever you put a grade on them and shun them for making the bad grade and going, well, you're never going to amount to anything if you don't make these grades, when in reality your grades don't mean shit. Don't ever let people think that, don't think that grades are shit or like is what defines you. GPA does not define you. That's just another number they want to put on us, and I hate it. And that's why we're so mentally so-called ill. But in reality, oh man, hold on. My dad came home from work early and just interrupted that whole thought. I'm not even sure what I was talking about. I know it was education. But anyways, mental illness comes from the fact that they want us to fit in a box and learn in this book way. And if you can't learn in this way, you're special ed or whatever. And it's bullshit. Education should be fluid. But anyways, back to mental health. I want to give a different perspective on it. Like anxiety, I used to think that my anxiety was a bad thing, but in reality, I feel like anxiety is a good thing because anxiety is your body telling you that a certain person or situation that you're in at the moment isn't for you. So I used to hang out with a bunch of group of people, and I was always that person who's just kind of like a fly on the wall. I observe a lot, and I realize now that I'm meant to observe a lot because I'm supposed to just see everything inner perspective and just kind of sit and chill and like soak it all in. Like I'm a sponge. But I had anxiety about going to a club, and I made friends with people, which are not my friends anymore because I've cut them all off. But when I was sitting there and they were all chit chatting, I realized that they would talk negatively about someone, and then when that person would come into the room, their whole attitude would change and they would put on a face and act like they're so excited to see this person, even though just 2 minutes earlier, they were talking shit about them. And that negative energy, because I wholeheartedly believe in energy, and so that negative energy is what was giving me anxiety. It wasn't me. I wasn't the problem. It was the people that I was hanging out with. They were the problem because they were fake. They were two faced. And then it also made me realize, like, what are they saying behind my back? Like, are they talking shit behind my back when I walk out? Because, like, even though it wasn't directed towards me, it was still negative energy that was affecting me. And that is called empathy, I think, because these people that they would talk shit about, I never had an issue with them. I didn't see the point of them even saying what they said about that person. Because to me, everyone's gone through trauma, and yeah, we all have our coping mechanisms and shit. But to talk shit about someone, gossip, is a very negative thing. And that's why I took them all out of my life, because that's all I ever did. Another one was that I hung out with this one little group where we kind of did like sister face for uh, the queer community or whatever, and we would put Y on her face and then do our makeup and all that crap. But anyway, so we were hanging out, and there was this one sister that they would constantly like make fun of, make jokes about, and they would all laugh. I mean, some of them kind of looked like you could tell that they weren't like laughing too much, but they would go, ha ha, just because the person was joking about this person. But the person looking at her, she was not laughing at all. She was actually taking it very harsh and did not like it and was like, why are you guys even saying that shit? Kind of deal. And when I had seen her, that energy made me realize that those fuckers were assholes and they shouldn't be joking about her. Because people who joke about you and it's in a negative way, it's like something that maybe you can't even help that you do or whatever. Um, it's still it's bullying. It's a different type of bullying, and they think that they can get away with it when they say, "Oh, I was just kidding," or "I was joking." That negative energy is what gives you anxiety. So if you're surrounded by people who give you anxiety just by hanging out with them, really watch them, watch their actions, understand why. And like people who say that you overthink or you're paranoid and shit, I guarantee you it's because they're guilty of something, because they are doing something to make you want to, like, because when we overthink, um I've overthought my whole life, but in a sense you're overthinking because something doesn't add up. It's kind of like wanting a mystery, like solve a mystery. You're wondering why do I feel this way, so you overthink, and maybe you do just think worst case scenario or whatever. But to me, when you think of worst case scenario, go a step farther. Think worst case scenario and think, how, if this does happen in reality, how am I going to react to it? Am I just going to walk away from it? Am I going to yell at them? Whatever. But also think of good scenarios too, and then how you can react to those scenarios. Because to me, overthinking helps you prepare for whatever might happen. It's a preparation. Um, but anxiety, for sure, is an indication that your situation or the people that you're surrounding yourself with are negative energy, and you don't need that. That's why I've cut off a lot of people in my life, because I just don't want that negative energy in my life. And I get that there's other people who are working on themselves, and those people who are actually working on themselves, they don't bother me because I see them. I'm like, you're working on it, you're getting there, you're doing your shadow work or whatever you want to call it, figuring it out. And I think that's great. But ones who don't want to work on themselves and don't think that they're the problem, and they're just like, well, this is how I am, those are the ones that you don't want to be around, because they're not going to evolve with you, they're not going to grow with you, and eventually you're just going to be constantly going back and forth, and it's going to be negative, and eventually you're going to have to like cut that off. It's an unhealthy relationship, and that's what you need to look for. So overthink it. Don't think of it as paranoia. Think of it as, my energy is saying something to me. I need to figure it out what it is. And so figure it out what it is. Depression. That tells us that we are sad or the world is sad. So, for the longest time, I thought, I mean, even right now, I'm kind of depressed, but the shit that happens on in the world, even though it doesn't personally, physically affect us because we didn't live it, the energy from that negativity does affect us. And that's why you feel depressed all the time. I've been trying to find a job still, and I cannot find a fucking job to where I like the people I'm working with. The job is decent, and we're trying to help people, get stuff or whatever. I'm not very materialistic, so like working in retail is just horrible for me because it's just I'm not that type of person. But I'm trying to find something that I'm okay with, and I at least have people I work with that I'm okay with because so far I have not found that, and I keep quitting my jobs for that. But doing things like getting a job that's helping the world, not hurting the world, is going to help you heal. Finding hobbies and little activities that you do that are actually healthy and are good for the world or good for you is how you heal. And so, whenever you're doing hobbies like getting drunk every weekend or you're shit faced and you don't remember the weekend, that's not healthy. It is an unhealthy coping mechanism. And I think that's another reason why I didn't like hanging out at the bars because a lot of the times the people who hang out there constantly are just they're there to get drunk. And that's another thing. They would push me to try to drink with them. And I'm not much of a drinker. I am a smoker. I like to smoke weed, but like drinking is not like I might drink one or two drinks and I'm good. I don't have to get shit faced drunk to have a good time. I'm vibing it out just by watching everybody and shit. But watching everyone and seeing them get shit faced drunk so they forget themselves for the weekend, it's an unhealthy coping mechanism, and I don't want to be around those people who are still on that part of their journey. Because eventually they're going to get drunk one night and be like, dude, I'm done with this. And they're going to stop and they're going to get sober. And in reality, you have to choose to get sober but it's going to be a hard road because you're going to have to figure out why you started drinking in the first place. What caused you to do that? Was it childhood trauma? Was it a relationship that went bad? You have to look at the negative in order to heal from it. It's fact because like when I went down my spiritual journey and mental health journey, therapists helped me a little bit, and it was just a friend who was helping me out. But in reality, you kind of have to look within yourself and talk with yourself. So people who call you crazy when you're talking to yourself, they're the ones who are crazy who don't talk to themselves because how do you not process things? You gotta process things, and in order to do that is by talking to yourself. But which goes into bipolar disorder. To me, it's your higher self wanting out, wanting to help you, wanting to help you heal. But your conditioned self, the conditioned self that you had to become to survive in this fucked up world, is fighting it. So whenever you lash out and stuff, that's your conditioned self um, having a negative reaction to realizing that some of the shit that you went through was not okay and that no one was there to help you. So to me becoming the person I wish I had around when I was an adult or when I was a kid, like an adult figure, that's how I healed from shit. I'm being the adult that I wish was around when I was a kid, which I did have a few adults here and there, but they're always so temporary because I moved a lot. I was forced to move a lot. And so I'd find someone who I can actually talk to and like resonate with, and then we're up and moving, and I don't even get to stay in communication with that person. So it was like I went back into my numbness. I just closed off again because I couldn't. Whenever you can't talk freely to a friend or a family member about your stuff, is probably because they're a toxic person and they're probably the person who hurt you in the first place. That's why I cut off a lot of my family too. But anyways, and I know I was kind of talking about autism earlier, but to me, autism, uh, on bipolar disorder, be patient with yourself. Let your higher self take over because your conditioned self, like my survival self, don't think that they're ever going to go away. They're always going to be there because you should appreciate them because they got you to be here in the present. They kept you there because I could have easily been gone at the age of 19, but I didn't because that's another story. But um, the person you had to become helped you get through whatever the fuck you had to get through. So don't throw them out. Heal them. And that's what I've been working on. Like when people talk about healing your inner child, that's what you're doing. You're healing that conditioned survival mode child that had to be forced into that type of situation because they didn't have great parents growing up, or they were sports with their grandparents who were probably even worse and shit like that. Or schools. Sometimes schools are the fucking evil and they treat you like shit. But bipolar disorder. Don't think of it as a disorder. Think of it as your higher self trying to come out, take over a little bit. But it doesn't mean you're losing control. It just means that you're finding control. Because I think whenever you lash out in anger and hate, that's you losing control. You're not in control whatsoever when that's happening. And that's why these people who lash out with hate on the minorities and they go around killing people and shit, they try to take people's lands. They're the most mentally ill people ever, and for some reason they're the ones running the countries, like certain different countries, because I know there's other countries having issues too, but this country, the people who are running it, they're the mentally ill, and to me they're unqualified to be their job because they're not calm, they're not peaceful, they're not wanting to find resources of food, shelter, and water for everyone. They want to take it from certain people but give it to other people. That to me is mentally ill. But autism, back to that, like to me, autistic people, that's their term. Okay, we don't have to call ourselves that. By all means, if it helps you define it, cool. But just remember that you have a creative mind. Your body tells you when you shouldn't be with certain people, and to me, that's not like an autistic thing. It's I'm around negative people. I need to get out of here. So don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as that we're the creative minds that are going to change this world for the better because we love differently, we feel differently, we don't want to lash out in anger and hate. We want to be around like minded people who are kind and caring and honest. I mean, some people are not honest. And when you're around people who are not honest, that's negative energy that you don't want to be around. Um, but what was that? What was I gonna say? Uh, oh yeah, and then I was gonna say, autistic. They try to throw that word at you to show that you're the what's wrong with it, or you're what's wrong. But in reality, the world is wrong because of, like I said, with education, they think that you should be able to learn certain things like this, point blank, book, whatever. I might not be book smart or test smart, but I'm definitely experience, life, or like, what's the word? I experience things and not just read about it. Like I've done stuff. Like I'm hands on. Being hands on means that you have to be in it and actually doing it to actually learn it instead of just reading about it. You can read about something all day, but it doesn't mean you can go out there and do it. Um, but oh, and then I was saying, but like I said, it's the world trying to say something wrong with us instead of saying, okay, maybe the world needs to change. It's not you who needs to change, it's the world that needs to change. And that's why I say autistic people, creative minds, are going to be the ones who change this fucking world. We also don't tolerate bullshit and fake people. And that's the thing. That's why I can't be a therapist for this country because the way they teach us is we're supposed to evaluate them when in reality we should just be helping them figure out shit. We shouldn't be drugging them up and stuff. And that's why I can't be a therapist. But I really want to help people. I was thinking about just making it where you can like maybe I'll put my email down, and if you want to talk about more about this mental health stuff, you can email me to the I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's Earth Creator something something at Gmail. I'll put it in the description below. And if you want to, like, say you have a therapist and it's not working out, and you want to talk to someone anyways, like maybe I'll just have it where I can help people in that way. I mean, I do need a job to pay bills and shit, but maybe if I start on this and maybe I can eventually get it, but I'm not gonna be a licensed therapist. So like I don't know what that means, but I also feel like it's bullshit. But anyways, I just want to be able to help people. And that's why I do these videos. But the last thing I want to talk about was PTSD. It is validation that no one deserves to be put through trauma and abuse. Your emotions and feelings are valid. Military, number one. I mean, I'm just saying PTSD can be anyone, but military, going through war is an unnecessary trauma that some people have gone through, and then they get kind of kicked to the side whenever they start having PTSD, and then they just get drugged. Once again, drugged. Shut up. This is how it is. You just need to shut up. Your PTSD is just because you couldn't handle it. You're not man enough or some bullshit like that. But in reality, PTSD is showing that you're a fucking human and that the shit that you had to go through during boot camp or even at war, even if you had to kill people, like, that's not okay. War has never solved anything. War only happens because someone wants to take someone's land or someone wants to take someone's rights away. They want to kill people. Basically, war is, let's see how many people we can kill, and whoever survives, those are the ones who start taking control of shit. And the founding fathers were bullshit. We're supposed to think of them as heroes, but in reality, all they did was take people's land and then kill a lot of people, and they're supposed to be the heroes when they're not. They're nowhere near. And that's what I'm talking about, the lies. Like, we think differently, we have different emotions, and we don't want to be around that type of shit. And school is hard for us because we were literally being taught lies. And that is valid. That's why PTSD to me, yeah, I totally have it. But it's fucking valid because of the shit I went through. I shouldn't have to have gone through that. I should have had a safe house. I should have had safe parents. I should have had, or at least one parent. I have had one parent, but like, they made it out like he wasn't a safe parent. But whatever. Anyways, I didn't have that. And I guarantee you the people who do get to have that, like truly, genuinely get to have that, because even then, some people are like, well, they're family. You have to just deal with it. If they are toxic to you, you fucking leave them. You leave them behind. Let them go be toxic to other toxic people. Like, I don't care about that anymore. Um, you breaking away, being the black sheep, telling the truth, that means you're not mentally ill. You're the mentally sane. Mentally ill are the ones who still believe that lie, still act it on that lie, and still have their privileges of that lie and use it to dehumanize other people. And that's why I want to do a video for mental health, because we're having issues with it. Because I really have been thinking about trying to get my therapy thing, but then I just know that I'm gonna have to lie to get the license because I'm gonna have to like learn it the way they teach it, and I know that the way they teach it is not how I want to help people. And I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't have the energy to do it. I only have the energy to do stuff that is actually going to help people. It's actually going to help me, help the world, whatever. And that's why I'm having issues finding a job too, because I mean, most jobs are dead end jobs. They don't do much. Um, but in reality, in this fucked up world, we have to make money, and I hate money. And you know how much I hate money. If you watch my other videos, anyways. But that's just all I want to talk about now. I'm sure there's some other mental health diagnosis that they've given people that I could probably talk about. And if you do watch this video and you have one, by all means, type, put it in the comment below and I'll look into whatever it is. These are just the ones I've dealt with personally and have had friends deal with. So, like, that's why I wanted to talk about them. But I hope you have a good day. And we're almost done with this year, which is crazy, but also whatever. Time flies when you're not having fun, and not having to deal with shit. But anyways, make good choices for real, for yourself. Self care, self trust, self love is the most important thing that you should work on. So if you want some New Year's revolutions, boundaries are the most addictive thing. Once you start setting boundaries with people, it's bliss. Once you start finding your peace of mind, peace within, it's bliss. Like, you're like, oh, I'm not tolerating any shit. Like, that's why I've quit so many jobs, because one red flag comes up and I'm like, nope, done with this, because I can't stand red flags. If there's a red flag, it's there. Most of the time, the red flags have been there for a really long time. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to change. You're not going to be able to change it. That's why I feel like people who keep going on strike for their jobs to change forget it. If they were going to change, they would have already changed. They don't care about taking care of people. So if you have a job that doesn't take care of their employees, don't go on strike. Just fucking get together. You know that other people are complaining about it. Go to like, hey, let's stop complaining about this and let's just quit. I don't know. Go start a business with all of you together. How somehow go get out a loan because like there's few people on loan. That's more people that come after you or whatever. I guess. I think that's fucking stupid. I just think money is stupid. But in order to start a business, you kind of need help. Period. The end. That's why I don't have much help because I don't have much friends. I've kind of cut them all off. But they were not, they were toxic friends. They weren't helping me heal. They weren't helping me evolve. They looked down on me a lot of times because if I had talked about stuff like this, I get the weird looks. If you're getting the weird looks, dude, step away. If you're getting the looks like they're intrigued, they're listening, then by all means keep talking to them, to keep bringing them around. But if they just look at you like, huh? Dude, they're not where you are, and you need to go find some people where you are. Just find people on your level, so that way you can level up. Because in reality, sticking with people who are below your level, and I'm not saying that they're below you. Do not think that because that's a negative concept. But they have their own healing path to go down, and only they can choose to go down it. That's why I think that we've all been abused, but some of us choose to abuse others, and then some of us choose to never abuse others because we didn't like it. And whenever you become the abuser, you become in the wrong. So choose right. Don't abuse people. Help people heal. And if they're willing to listen to you, great. If they're not, then walk away. As soon as I see that someone's not listening, I'm like, okay, peace out. I'm done. I just walk away. And some people will call you a bitch for that, but I'd rather be a bitch with a peace of mind than a bitch that has anxiety, depression, even more because I keep putting myself in those situations. So think about that seriously. But I don't know what my next video is going to be. I kind of just do these whenever I really feel the energy to do them. And I just sat down here and wrote this up real fast so that way I can kind of focus on it and do it. But yeah, peace within. I'll see you next time.